Musically, I started, the first time I ever, played music was on my mother's upright piano in our bedroom at my grandparents' house. She would play, in the house she would play music by the Beastie Boys and Stevie Wonder and the Pixies. And
so your mother is a Beastie Boy generation?
Yeah, she's she was born in the late 60s. And she was pretty young when she had me. But yeah, she instilled, a love of music in me from an early age. And then I grew up until I was age 6, I lived in Phoenix, Arizona. And then my mom got married, and we moved around a lot after that because my stepdad was in the Navy. And then when I was about 13, I moved back to Phoenix. And I lived there ever since until I was about 25, and then I moved to Chicago and then to Michigan. And I'm gonna live in Michigan for a little longer, and then I'm gonna move back to Phoenix. We met in Phoenix, actually. I think I started serving you coffee long before I actually met you. Mm-hmm. He was a customer at the coffee shop I worked at. And then, then eventually having a lot of friends in common, we met and became bandmates eventually after a long friendship.
Mm-hmm. I grew up in a small town called Flagstaff in northern Arizona, out in the middle of the woods. And it was kind of an isolated, it was an isolated environment. What I was able to know about the outside world was very limited because we didn't have television or anything. But my older siblings, they all played music, and I knew from a very young age that was what I was going to do. That was what I wanted to do. So by the time I was 7 or 8, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna play music, and I started playing when I was about 12 years old, and then later, when I graduated from school, I moved to Phoenix, the big city in Arizona, and started playing music there, and that was where I met Sean and the rest of the band. The
Sun City Girls are from there. They're kind of pioneers of experimental noise music. The Meat Puppets are from there. They were one of the earliest hardcore bands in the 80s. JFA, another really cool skate punk band. Currently, the Gin Blossoms, Jimmy Eat World are from there. I already said the Gin Blossoms just now, didn't I? Mm-hmm. The Format and the guy from that band Fun is from Phoenix. As far as the clubs, my favorite club in Phoenix is the Trunk Space. Mm-hmm. It's an all ages art gallery that also has shows ranging from like experimental noise music to punk music and indie rock, and some kind of minor orchestral music. It's a really, really versatile place.
I think that the music scene in Phoenix is unique in that people don't really care about it. Los Angeles is not too far away, and that gets a lot of attention. And Phoenix doesn't have a reputation from the outside world of like being a hip place. So the music there's kind of a feeling of immediacy and desperation, and that if someone wants to do something, like they do it, and they do it now, and they don't wait for anyone to care about it. And as a result, like the music scene in Phoenix, very often bands come around, and then they make their art for a brief period of time, and then it stops, and that, or sometimes they keep going, but the music scene in Phoenix, it is very self-sustaining because there isn't a whole lot of support given from the outside.
And Phoenix bands really don't care if other people care. I like that. It's really, it's really fearless.
Yeah. If people want to make art and make music in Phoenix, they do it for themselves, and they do it for themselves, and they do it for their friends. So I feel like the music that comes out of Phoenix, which most people don't know about, like there's a lot of heart, and it's and it can be very intense because the people know that what they're doing at that moment is probably all that's going to be, and it's not going to be recognized by. It's not going to be recognized by the rest of the country, and Phoenix is such a large place that it probably isn't going to be recognized by the city itself. So the music in Phoenix, it provides its own momentum.
Andrew Jackson was the 6th president of the United States of America, possibly the 7th actually. I
think it was the 7th.
7th? Yeah, he's 7th president. Terrible man, horrible man. He led a near genocide of the Native Americans that lived in America. He was known for being a vicious fighter. He was in several duels. He had a grudge against the Jesuits and the national banks. Just despicable guy for many reasons. The name came about from just me and Ben, the bass player of Andrew Jackson Jihad, just doing free word association, trying to figure out the name of the band we had just started. And so it came out of a completely subconscious place. But the way that I choose to interpret the band name is that it's has to do more with the jihad, the personal, the war against yourself, and trying to improve, trying to get better, and become a more complete person. But we started in 2004 with 3 members: Ben Gallaty playing bass, me playing guitar and singing, and a drummer named Justin. And the drummer didn't last for very long, but me and Ben kept going for years and years, touring together as a 2-piece, and then recording with a lot more people. We kind of our approach to recording was more of a collective one, and that's how Preston first kind of came into the fold with Andrew Jackson Jihad. Was we were recording some stuff, and then we left the house, but Preston was hanging out at our house, and he played harmonica on a song when we weren't there, and we got home and listened to the mixes, and then from then on we called on him to record with us, and then eventually in 2011 we asked Preston to join our touring band, and we created from a 2-piece band to like a 4- to 5-piece band. Unfortunately, the other people aren't here this time around.
Why?
Availability. We were offered the Frank Turner tour about 3 weeks before the first show, and not all the Preston and I were available, but Ben wasn't, and Deacon wasn't either, our drummer. We met Frank a long time ago, playing some show or another, but we ended up touring with him in 2011 in the United States as a 2-piece with myself and Ben, the bass player, and became friends mostly from that tour. We spent a lot of time in a bus together. I would characterize, or someone else characterized it as sad in the key of happy. I think that I love grotesque things, and I think a lot of the times you can become optimistic through acknowledging sad things, and choosing to acknowledge, accept, and then try to change those sad things. I think that's where the optimism comes from. So I think our band is a happy band, but I think our band is only a happy band because we acknowledge and challenge the negativity and hatred. I love absurdity. Absurdism, and especially when it's tied to humor and subconscious things. I've never considered us a political band, but I'm sure we are. There's a lot of social issues, especially on our most current, or on our last album that we released. That came from a place when I was working for years as a social worker at a homeless shelter, and as an outreach worker. And it's not so much political, like who to vote for, but it's more about social problems. I consider it more music, or I consider those songs at least more about social justice than politics.
I think that if the band does have a quote-unquote political message, it has more to do with the way that your personal life, in the way that the personal is political, as opposed to talking about politics as if they're somewhere else. Politics as if politics exist only in who you're voting for and or other issues. I think if there are any politics, that has to do with the politics of self and how the self fits into the larger picture.
I wish I could answer that question completely honestly, but I have no idea how I write the songs. That's kind of the magic of it. As far as when I know that there's a line from a song that I want to lift or pay homage to, that happens when I can identify where that piece would fit in the song. It's nothing I do completely intentionally. Like I never hear a song and think I'm going to steal that and put that in my song, because that just wouldn't work. But I don't consider it plagiarism because it's so blatant that it would fall more under tribute. Like we've taken When the Saints Go Marching In, The Cars,
Woody Guthrie, Simon and Garfunkel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of like references more than plagiarism.
Mm-hmm. I think that there's a rich history in American music of stealing other people's music or paying tribute to it. In blues music or jazz music, it's taken for granted that the musicians will reference that which came before. In rock music or pop music, I think people like to pretend that it doesn't happen as much, but we all know it does, and we all hear it. But there's just a different. For some reason, there's a different mentality in rock music or pop music as opposed to jazz or blues.
Mm-hmm. Well, the bands that I'm inspired by, I guess it's just everything I've ever listened to. I mean, there's some music I don't like. I couldn't name any genre I didn't like, but let's see. I could rattle off some names. I really like Neil Young. I absolutely love, or maybe loved, the Pixies. Right now, St. Vincent is really good. Shoo Shoo is a really amazing artist. I like a lot of books. I like Mark Twain and Kurt Vonnegut. Been reading a lot about Charles Manson. Charles Manson's a very fascinating scoundrel in America. But I think like sonically and lyrically, there's a different set of influences. Life is the most inspirational thing. Interpersonal relationships, politics, beauty, babies, dogs.
I think one thing that makes the band work is that all of us as individuals, we very often like very different things, and while I don't know, like what I bring to the table is those inspirations are very often they could be very different than the inspirations that Sean brings to the table, and so I don't know. I didn't have a complete thought with that. But I mean, the inspirations can be vast, and they can come collectively, like from the whole band, or the inspiration can be from an individual, and that goes for obviously Sean writes the lyrics, so that inspiration is perhaps more specific, but musically we all listen to such different things, and when we're in the van on tour and it's someone's turn to, we generally go like whoever's driving gets to DJ, and depending on who's driving, the music is going to be so different.
Yeah.
and everyone has such different tastes, and you know, and the rest of us are very keen to hear what they have to offer, you know, and what they're listening to. But the influences are vast, and you know, there are certain influences that, you know, that apply to the band as a whole, but there are also a lot of influences that apply on an individual level.
Currently, no. It's we're not very theatrical. We try to dress nice and look okay, but.
I mean, if you have choreography, you know, but.
Oh, no, that would be really cool if we did.
Maybe one day.
Yeah, I'm not going to rule that out. It would be really cool to have choreography, but no, we just try to play as hard and well as we can. We're going to play about 6 or 7 songs with just the 2 of us. I'm not sure what those songs are going to be just yet. But then after that, we're going to play about 5 songs with Frank Turner playing drums. Oh, of the songs Frank plays on? I love how the song Cocapelli Face Tattoo is turning out. It's really fast, and Frank's his drum kit is really simple. It's just a snare and a kick and a ride cymbal. So it's just 3 drums, or, you know, 3 pieces. But he hits really hard, and he's very tasteful when he plays. That's my favorite. Probably a song called Getting Naked and Playing with Guns. It's a song that'll be on our next album, Christmas Island.
And why? Why do you like this song?
Right now, it's my favorite song I've ever written. It's it delves into some absurd subconscious thought. It's and helped me process some childhood trauma that I had. And it's really fun to play, and I think it's a good song.
One of the songs that I've really liked playing is a song that we haven't played very much before, called "I Hate My Brain," and that's definitely one of my favorites to play. But I mean, every night the set list changes, and we generally you know, come up with the songs just before we go on. We don't have a set list of songs. And I think that the spontaneity and
because then we can't do the film.
Oh.
we're gonna fill all that out.
Yeah.
I promise.
After the concert, you have to write.
Yeah. We'll figure it out. We'll have our list and
but you know, like,
promise.
going into the set and not knowing what we're going to play until very long before. I think that spontaneity provides a lot of energy for the performance. That way it doesn't become the same thing over and over again. If we were playing the same set songs every single night, it would, I don't know, it might be more difficult to really be energetic, you know, because we would know exactly what's going to happen. I don't know, it's nice not knowing what's going to happen.
No, this is our first time.
We've never been to Budapest.
We love.
Never heard of Budapest before?
Yes,
Yeah.
of course. Yeah. We had a day off in Budapest yesterday, and we were able to walk around. It's a beautiful city. Loved being here. It was a great place to have a day off.
We went to Timpla, which I think is the big kind of tourist bar, and it's amazing. There's so many rooms and it's so beautifully decorated. On our way back, I actually I ran face first into a window, trying to catch the train. There was a bench we were running across to try to catch the train, and I tried to jump over a bench, but it was one of the windows at the train stop that didn't have anything written on it. It was the only window that didn't have anything written on it. Not even, people hadn't even tagged on it yet. It was new or something, and I ran. Tried to jump over the bench, but then just splat, like face first, into a window. I was very lucky that the window didn't break, or that I didn't get hit by a car when I fell down off the window. It was terrible. Let's see. I'm going to go back to Michigan for probably about 2 weeks, and then I'm going to fly to Phoenix, and we're going to film a music video and play a couple shows. And then a few months after that, in May and June, we're going to release our album and go on tour again in the States.
Yeah, we'll have a very busy rest of the year between a new album coming out and the video and tours.
We actually get to play a festival in Toronto, Canada with one of our favorite bands, Neutral Milk Hotel, and I'm really excited about that.